Those who rejected God meddling in worldly affairs invented science, so that in the future they could build kitchen appliances and nuclear bombs. Humanity had free will. He alone would decide who was meant to die. That is why a group known as the Others was invented. Immanuel Kant and David Hume, the inventors of reason, also discovered that whites possessed a higher sensibility. Blacks were at least trainable as servants. That Indians were sly but incapable of abstract thought. And American natives were lazy, dispassionate, ignorant, and ineffectual. Humanity wanted to make its own history, and to do this had to produce food, clothing, and shelter. A division of labor ensued. Some made those things, while others wrote history. After much misery, new ages dawned. Some put up with it, others basked in the sun. Once a new age dawned, the next beckoned. This was the condition for gods allowing humanity to make its own history. Europeans attained the age of the rifle, and to get to the age of gold and silver, they wiped out those who had not made it to the age of the rifle. Hernando Cortés destroyed the Aztec Empire, and Francesco Pizarro destroyed the Incas. This was called the Age of Discovery. What the discovery was that South American empires and African natives were defenseless against guns. They figured out the extent we could tyrannize the others. They saw that it was a lot. In the early 1500s, before Columbus, Mexico had 25 million inhabitants. In 100 years, it was down to 1 million. The greatest explorer, Christopher Columbus, described the local people thus: "They are all of a good size and stature and handsomely formed. They should be good servants." He wrote in his journal, "I was very attentive to them and strove to learn if they had any gold. These islands are all extremely verdant and fertile and probably contain many things of which I am ignorant, not inclining to stay here, but visit other islands in search of gold." So he did. There was gold. They killed the natives, stole their gold. In the 1500s, the Belgian engraver Theodorus de Brie showed how and what had been discovered, and his engravings were seen throughout Europe, but the blood-soaked plunder was still known as the discoveries, since they had been financed by European investors, enabling the founding of the free market economy. Thus, it was possible for 6- or 7-year-old children in England to work in factories from dawn to dusk instead of loitering in the streets. Slave traders would complain of revolts. "It is terrible because we cannot fire on them, since each man is worth at least 1,000 francs. At a later stage, humanity would produce a make of car named after the civilization it had destroyed. During its adventure spanning thousands of years, humanity often asked itself the meaning of life. But somehow it failed to understand the order in which it lived. Just when the riddle was about to be solved, something called progress popped up, and nobody had any spare time. While the conqueror's weapon was the rifle, the Industrial Revolutions was the steam engine. Until now, humanity had groped around in the dark, wasting time. So, if only some were maimed in factories or crawled around in the dark tunnels, others could enjoy traveling on trains or going to war with steamboats. Coal was needed. If you could force people on the other side of the world into mines at gunpoint, then why not do the same in your own country? Well, many didn't have guns or money. Humanity used reason to progress. First, it came up with the idea of sending every poor child over the age of 5 underground. Not only could the brats shuffle up and down the narrow tunnels with ease, they could also be paid less than grown-ups. It was reason which sent poor families and their children down the mines, and religion which consoled those who remained above by singing hymns for the victims of the dark. That way they could go back down the next day, and they did. This was how, by throwing people in one end and getting coal out the other, mining became an industry. Let us now hear it from Frankie Laine. 16 tons.
Some people say a man is made out of mud. A poor man's made out of muscle and blood. Muscle and blood, skin and bones. Mind that's weak and the back that's strong. You load 16 tons, what do you get? Another day older, deeper in debt. Saying, Peter, don't you call me 'cause I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store. Well, I was born one morning when the sun didn't shine. I picked up a shovel, I walked to the mine. I loaded 16 tons of number 9 coal, and the straw boss said, well, bless my soul, you load 16 tons, and what do you get? Another day older, deeper in debt. Saying, Peter, don't you call me 'cause I can't go. I owe my soul to the company store.